Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Jay. Happy New Year's Eve to all of y'all. Sad news to report on the death, the passing away of television icon, entertainment icon, Betty White. Yeah, we all know Betty White. I mean, she was just one of the biggest and most well known celebrities in Hollywood. She was a trailblazer in Hollywood. We remember her as Sue Ann Nivens from the 1960s TV show Mary Tyler Moore, but more so, I remember her as Nyland, Rose Neuland on the TV show The Golden Girls. She was the last Golden Girl, the last surviving Golden Girl of them all. And she was so ubiquitous in the entertainment industry that many people, including her own agent, has said that it was almost like she was immortal. Yeah, Betty White started off her career in the 1930s, 1939 to be exact. And she was one of the few trailblazers on television in the 1950s because, according to this story that I just read right now, that my friend and co host Lisa had told me, this tap dancer whose, whose name was Arthur Collins appeared on her show three times in the 1950s. Now, keep in mind, this was the 1950s. His name was Arthur Duncan. And during the 1950s was a time of heavy segregation. So in the South, they didn't want to air this episode where this black tap dancer had appeared. But Betty White pushed for it and pushed for it and pushed for it, and he appeared on the show three times. Also, one thing that I always respected about Betty White that I did know about Betty was that she was an animal advocate. She was always out there pushing and pushing and pushing for the advocacy of animals. She was also out there pushing a political agenda in terms of racial equality and social justice, like this example. Also, she was one of the first female entertainers to have her own production company at probably a time when they did not have production companies. And let's not forget this: dig deep into the characters that some of these actors played. And the character of Sue Ann Nivens, at the time when Betty White played her, she was one of the first female characters on television to talk about sex. At a time when people did not, female characters on television did not talk about sex. We talked about this in the I Love Lucy episode. They did not really discuss sex or sexuality at all on television. But Betty White's character of Sue Ann Nivens, although she was described as man hungry, or that was their roundabout way of saying that the character was sexually loose. She was a groundbreaking character for the time in the 1960s. Then we go to the 80s, and the thing that made the Golden Girls so popular with so many people, including the rapper, the late DMX, that it was purported to be when he was on the set of the movie Romeo Must Die. They said Golden Girls was his favorite show to watch. So now he's up there with Betty White in heaven. But what made the Golden Girls such a popular TV show was that in those days you didn't really see in the 80s you didn't really see women again discussing sexuality, discussing um their lives. It was like, okay, yeah, you're in your 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you're put out to pasture. Also, the Golden Girls was one of the first shows, or I think the first show, to have an episode on HIV and AIDS. At a time in the 1980s, we talk. This ties into a lot of stuff we talk about. In the 80s, it was a taboo subject because it was something that was an epidemic in the world, and even the president of the United States wasn't even talking about it. So to have this show where women were like your grandma's age or maybe your mom's age, to have them discuss sexuality in such a way that they cover homosexuality at a time when it was a taboo subject, when the LGBT community was completely demonized because of they were blamed in much the same way that the Asian community was blamed for COVID-19. The gay community, or at that time, to use the words of that time, the homosexual community was blamed for HIV and AIDS. To have them as heterosexual women to discuss homosexuality on TV and to have them discuss the HIV and AIDS episode. Yes, Lisa, Rose Neuland was the okay, we all know how sitcoms are structured. There is a dumb character on every show. So when she first accepted the role, she thought that she was going to play the Blanche type character because in the 60s, she had played the type of Blanche type character on her first show in Mary Tyler Moore. So she was not down to do with that again. She's like, I'm not going to do Sue Ann. I'm not going to do Sue Ann Nivens again. I'm done with that type of role. But then they offered her this dim-witted role of I guess you could say a country bumpkin, like the character was from St. Olaf, Minnesota. So she was from somewhere out there, and a lot of times they would be discussing stuff like when they are discussing HIV and AIDS or they're discussing homosexuality, and the character would just say things like, they're just really weird, really socially awkward stuff. We all, again, on every TV show, on every sitcom, there is this dumb type character. This dumb character. That's where the source of the comedy comes from. Dustin Diamond was that with Screech. Like somebody like, okay, you be having a really important conversation about something, say sex, and they would just say something crazy. And we all know people like this in real life. That they're just not with it. They're not with the program. They're like, okay, yeah, we're talking about something real. We're talking about something serious, and you just come with, just some silly shit. That was the kind of character that Rose Neuland was, but she was often the butt of the jokes of many of the other ladies. But that's what makes a sitcom funny. That was the life of the sitcom. So she took on in the '80s. She took on the opposite role of what she would play in the '60s. In her real life, Betty was married 3 times, and her last husband, they passed away in 1989. She said that was the love of her life. So today, she is reunited with her last husband, who, let me look up his name. Okay, yes, Dick Barker. Lisa got it before me. Dick Barker was her last husband, and she said in interviews that that was the man she loved. She had um three children. The media says three stepchildren, but of course, I believe uh, no, yeah, Alan Ludden. Yeah, we got it. We're just rolling with the punches. We're learning more about Betty as we come along. But yeah, um, like Lisa was saying, one of the things that endeared Betty to the African American community was her push for racial justice, racial equality, and just because she stuck around so long. Like there's certain people in the world that you think. I mean, even though we know that people all pass away, when I mean, we never thought that Betty White would pass away. So this is a really sad day in the world of entertainment. And um, as far as Betty White, you know, rest in peace to her. And Betty, thank you for being a friend. You know, that's what I gotta say. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for coming into our TV screens and providing us with hours worth of entertainment. Peace. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And happy New Year's Eve.